Hey, this is Paul from the Coda community. You may know me as that legendary maker responsible for all those tips and tricks and hacks and all the things you never thought were possible on Coda, as well as all those helpful answers, lessons, and best practices. And today, I'm super happy to finally show you the project that's perhaps the biggest project of my entire Coda career. And it's a pack that was inspired by all the pains my clients had and all the clients I rejected because Coda didn't support it at the moment. Well, now it does with the help of my pack that is called Sync Tables Pro. And before I go deep into the pack, let me talk about crossdock because this is important. So what is crossdock? Crossdock is a very big feature of Coda, like a killer feature of Coda that allows taking data from one doc, or namely tables or portions of tables, and syncing them to all the other docs. So why is that important? What does it solve? Well, it solves two big things. Thing number one is having the source of truth. Well, imagine a system of docs for your company where you have employees and then you have docs like tasks for these employees, their salaries, their goals. And each of these docs, they need a list of employees. And then you have separately a doc with a list of your employees. How do you get that list into all of the docs? Well, you have two options. Option A, copy it manually. And God forbid you forget to update the last name after someone gets engaged or married, and forget to update their position after someone gets promoted. So you have to remember to manually, if something changes about an employee record, you have to remember to manually go and update that value in each of the docs, which is very easy to mess up, right? So option number two is what crossdock is used for. You have one source of truth table, you make all changes to that table, and then you set up crossdock syncs of that table into all the different docs, and they get synchronized either manually or on an hourly or a daily cadence, depending on your Coda plan. So that is number one, what it does. Number two is that it allows to control who sees what. So you may know already, because I told it so many times in the community, that whenever you share a Coda doc, you share the entirety of it. So whenever you let someone view your doc, this is essentially of you giving them the whole file. They cannot see maybe everything in this doc just yet, because it's filtered and locked, but filter and locking are not really security features. So a person curious enough, they can dig deeper into the doc file and get all that sweet data. So if you have a doc with all the salaries for different employees and you want to share with just one employee, you filter down it to one employee and you want to share the doc with them to see their own salaries, you do that, and the employee is curious enough and they can see the data of all employees. So this is not really a security feature. So how it is solved with crossdock, you can make a view of that salaries table just for that employee, make a doc that you share with just that employee, and sync only that view to that doc so that the crossdock mechanism won't let any other data through. And the employee will only have access. You don't have to ever share the big doc with them. You share only the small doc that is filtered just to them, that has no other data, that the data just for them. And that's what crossdock essentially does, and it does it comparatively well. But over time, as I was setting systems like that for my clients and complicated systems for dozens of docs were interconnected, I started seeing problems. And problem number one is that, first, there is never just one employee. There is a dozen of employees, and you want to share their own salary data with just them. What do you do with crossdock? Well, you create a dozen of views, and you have to bring them over manually because that's the only way it's done. You cannot automate this. You bring over manually each employee's view into each of their own docs, and if you want to have a nice template that you just create once and then you copy it for each employee, you may bring over a sample employee, you create dashboards, charts, all like nice visualizations of what's an employee's status, and you want to copy that for a dozen employees. Well, tough luck, because in each of these copies, you'll have to You won't be able to just swap the source where this particular sync table takes its data from. You'll have to delete it, and by association, delete all the views that you created so meticulously, and bring over it manually again and set up the whole doc again, which is a pain, like a big, big pain. That's problem number one. It does not scale. It does not allow for creating templates. Problem number two. What if the source doc becomes broken? So a bad actor signs into the financials doc, or not even a bad actor, but someone messes up the numbers. And an admin decides that, okay, we have to revert to the old version of the doc. And reverting to the old version of the doc essentially means creating a new doc copy and deleting the old one. Well, with regular crossdoc, the views that you import and the sources, the views in the source doc are very toughly, very strongly tied. You cannot just bring that connection and reroute to read from another doc. So whenever you delete the old doc and start working from the new doc, essentially you lose everything that is based on cross docs from that first doc. You have to recreate everything anew, which is again a very, very big pain in the long run. You may not have this broken today, but you may have this broken in a month. And the third problem, it's a smaller one and it's worked around, but it's a problem nonetheless, is references. So CrossDoc tries to preserve references or lookups between tables. So if you have a table of employees and you have a table of teams and you have a lookup of an employee belonging to a team, the references will only work if you bring both tables together from the same doc. And if you want to bring them further, you have to also bring them from this doc further, because you cannot take a table of employees from an employees doc and the table of salaries from this doc. They will not link together automatically. And you cannot use views either. It's a best practice to use views and not base tables for cross-doc connections, but views will not resolve. You will have those grayed out pills, that chips that will tell you that the needed table is not found in your doc. So, and you can do nothing about it. You have to do workarounds. And actually, that's what I did all this time. I worked with lots of clients and I implemented all sorts of workarounds for all of these three scenarios, all of these three problems. And I even recorded some videos about that. And as I was doing that over and over, the tedious job, I told myself that whenever Coda launches a custom packs platform, I will create a custom pack that will solve this once and for all, that will make the same crossdoc, implement the same crossdoc mechanism, but with all those problems solved. And now there is. And today it is live in the gallery and you can install it and use it. You would ask why Coda wouldn't implement this themselves. These seem like a no-brainer, like the improvements everyone needs. Why Coda wouldn't implement this? Like why there has to be a third-party pack created by whoever? Well, Paul himself or any other maker. Well, there's two reasons. Reason number one is that Coda strategically never wanted to own the packs. Coda always wanted to create a marketplace, an ecosystem where every maker like myself could learn from the pains they personally had or their clients had or whoever they set up Coda for had, and create those better extensions themselves. This comes from Shishir himself, who's the CEO of Coda, who used to work at YouTube and whom we have to thank for being able to monetize our videos on YouTube. That was his vision, that makers have to be paid for the hard work they are doing, or creators have to be paid for the hard work they are doing. So in a way, Coda is not so interested in improving the existing packs as it is interested in opening possibilities for us to improve on them. That's reason number one. And reason number two is, well, they wouldn't do what I did because Coda has a different set of standards. I made quite a few opinionated choices about my pack. For instance, to control the behavior, you change the titles of the views you are about to import, and Coda wouldn't allow to do that. They would create a separate interface for all those settings. And frankly, they have better things to do than create those interfaces for those scenarios. So what I could allow myself to do and just tell you that deal with it, use it, here's the instructions, use it. Coda would never let to happen in the core offering, because if you don't like what I offer you as a pack maker, if it doesn't make sense to you, if it's hard to set up, if it's counterintuitive for you, you can just drop using my pack, but you can still use the well-designed for everyone, the well-designed product, the core product, which is Coda. So these are the two reasons why a pack like this is created by a third party. And Coda was very supportive for me creating this thing. Now, what about crossdock? Like, does it go obsolete now? No, because it's still a very good stock option for those new to Coda, for those who need very simple scenarios, like maybe they have two docks and they just need to bring in table from one dock to another with no crazy setups. But for teams who are very serious on making systems of docks for Coda, it's a must. I would say, I know I have my own interest because I'm selling this pack. It's a premium pack, but as a person who always advocated for best practices and for making safe setups that are easy to maintain, I'm telling you that replacing CrossDock with SyncTables Pro in the long run is a must, especially if you're a big team, or even if you are a small maker. Just try it out. That's why I tried to keep the pricing very affordable. It costs a cup of coffee per month per maker in your workspace, and I'm gonna keep it that way, despite the scenarios it opens up. And with all that said, in my next videos, I'll get to the training ones. I'll show you all about how it works, how to set it up, and what it can do. And yeah, see ya.